Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lions Den with another news and commentary. I was kind of thinking about, what happened with Hurricane Dorian and a cat which was a Category 5 that's devastating the entire island of the Bahamas. And it's just straight up destroying the Bahamas, right? And it make me think of why Hurricane Dorian was still in the Bahamas for so long. And we was talking about it, and I think a lot of some YouTubers was talking about this story. That is it because someone controlled the storm, or someone has the power to control the storm. I think, or someone has the power that has the control. I mean, to control Mother Nature with the storm. And it's funny that a lot of YouTubers even talk about it. Even Dr. Moonby herself was talking about this, and so this is what I'm concerned about, and which is true, that how can a Cat 5 hurricane still holds on to the Bahamas for at least 40 hours or more? And it really got me thinking. It was like, ain't no way in hell that a hurricane will last that long. Now it's gonna hit all the islands or whatever and move on, right? So, but this hurricane was a Cat 5, and it was still in the Bahamas for at least I say like 40 hours or more, 48 hours or more. And that's unusual for a hurricane to be stalling that long. So I did some research, and I think I can understand why that this hurricane has basically stayed that long. This thing called HAARP. HAARP is and I just did some research on this. HAARP is weather control. So which means that the government can control any weather system, any hurricanes, tornadoes, etc. And I'm going to go ahead and read this. It says that it isn't just conspiracy theories who are concerned about HAARP. The European Union called the project a global concern and passed a resolution called for more information on its health and environmental risk. Despite those concerns, officials at HAARP insist the project is nothing more sinister than a radio science research facility. And I'm going to go ahead and they'll explain to you what is HAARP. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. HAARP, which means High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program, was a little known yet critically important U.S. military defense project which generated quite a bit of controversy over its alleged weather control capabilities and much more. The project was shuttered by the military in 2013 after attracting large amount of negative publicity, though HAARP-like research undoubtedly continues in other secret projects. The essay reveals major deception promulgated by those involved to lead the public to believe HAARP was simply a research facility with little practical military value. Though denied by HAARP project officials, some respected researchers alleged that the electromagnetic warfare capabilities of the project were designed to forward the U.S. military stated goal of achieving full spectral dominance by the year 2020 and of owning the weather in 2025. See the USAF document summary here. Others go so far as to claim that HAARP technologies have been and continue to be used for weather control to could cause earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, to disrupt global communication systems and more. I'm going to stop you right there. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is real. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. It's important for people to understand that there's governments can control weather systems. It's scary, but it's the truth. And we were talking about the situation with Hurricane Dorian and why is the hurricane stalling in the islands of the Bahamas. It's really unusual, right? So I've been listening to Dr. Moonby, and I listen to other YouTubers talking about the same issue about HAARP. And it makes perfect sense that Hurricane Dorian, in as a Category 5, can easily hit it straight towards the West Palm Beach, Florida area. Now, and they know this, so billionaires are kind of concerned. They don't want to mess their houses up. Even the hurricane can hit Mar-a-Lago, which is Trump's estate, right? So they concerned about this. So, and this is, remember what President Donald Trump said, that how can we bomb a hurricane, which basically doesn't make any sense, right? So, what we're seeing is that they control this hurricane, and I believe now why this hurricane stalled the Bahamas the way it did. It's because of HAARP. And the government is controlling this storm, and that's why you see that's why the hurricane didn't go anywhere for the last couple of hours, which is 40 hours or more. It's still there. It didn't go anywhere, and it continued destroying the island. And this is why. So I'm going to go ahead and continue reading this. It says, these researchers point to major aspects of the program which are still kept secret for alleged reasons of national security. The U.S. patent of the key developer of HAARP and other documentary evidence support these claims. And there's no doubt that electromagnetic weapons capable of being used in warfare do exist. The HAARP project's $300 million price tag also suggests more was going on than meets the eye. According to the original HAARP website, HAARP is a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of the ionosphere, with particular emphasis on being able to understand and use it to enhance communications and surveillance systems for both civilian and defense purposes. The ionosphere is the delicate upper layer of the atmosphere, which ranges from about 30 miles, 50 kilometers, into 600 miles, 1,000 kilometers, above the Earth's surface. The HAARP project website acknowledged that experiments were conducted which use electromagnetic frequencies to fire pulse direct the energy beams in order to temporarily excite a limited area of the ionosphere. Some scientists state that purposefully disturbing the sensitive layer could have major and even disastrous consequences. Concerned HAARP researchers like Dr. Michael, I'll try to pronounce his last name right, Chudovsky, hope I'm pronouncing the last name right, but anyway, of the University of Ottawa and Alaska's Dr. Nick Begich, son of the U.S. Congressman, present evidence suggesting that these disturbances can even be used to trigger earthquakes, affect hurricanes, and for weather control. I'm going to stop you right there. Read the last last paragraph, right? Evidence. They have evidence suggesting that these disturbances can be used to trigger earthquakes, affect hurricanes, and for weather control. So, in other words, that it have this proof, and it's the truth that HAARP does exist. And I guarantee you that's probably the reason why Hurricane Dorian lasted so long in the Bahamas. It's because of this. They get control of this weather, this hurricane, which means that it's man-made. And obviously that they didn't want this hurricane to hit West Palm Beach because these are billionaire homes and Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago is there. They don't want to completely destroy it. So that's why they keep holding on Category 5 hurricane, which is Hurricane Dorian, and lasted that long in the Bahamas, and because of this. See, ladies and gentlemen, we need to wake up and see that there's governments are controlling weather systems now. You got and you heard what they say, they triggers earthquakes, which means they can control earthquakes, they can control hurricanes. Our government is doing this. And ladies and gentlemen, we definitely need to wake up on this, because if Dr. Movie talking about this and other YouTubers is talking about this, we as black YouTubers need to talk about this too. And why is Hurricane Dorian, which was a Category 5, stalling in the islands of Bahamas? Is it because that there's Europeans want the Bahamas, or want to gain control of the Bahamas? And again, this is why I said, and you know what, the Bahamian government, and I believe that the Chinese had an agreement, had a deal in place to work together, and I guess our government didn't like it. So there goes, and I mean, people talking about this as a conspiracy theory, maybe or maybe not. And this is why Hurricane Dorian is kicking in. As a Category 5, ripping the entire islands of the Bahamas like that. And didn't go anywhere. Normally when you have hurricanes, and I know a lot of people didn't say, well, you got to be expert on this, but when you have hurricanes, whether it's a Category 5 or Category 4, now they could upgrade to a Category 6. But with that big of the storm like this affected the entire islands of Bahamas, it's like, when you have the Bahamas moving, keep moving, and when you hit islands like that, making landfall, and they move on. This hurricane, which is Hurricane Dorian, a Category 5, just wiped out the entire island of the Bahamas and continue to wiping it out. And why the hurricane this big in the Category 5 is stalling the entire islands of the Bahamas? So, people, we have to wake up and realize that this weather control system here is real. HAARP is real, and this is evidence proving that. So I'm going to go ahead and continue reading this article. And this is really interesting for people to understand weather patterns, because, yeah, I might not be a weather expert, but it's important to see what our government is doing, because it's proven time and time again on why the entire islands of the Bahamas still stalling for more than 40 hours. It doesn't make any sense. And so we have to basically really need to just focus on this storm. Now, I'm going to continue reading this. It said Dr. Bernard Eastland is a scientist whose name is most associated with the creation and the development of the HAARP project. His revealing website provides reliable information on his involvement with the project. A 1987 patent issued by Dr. Eastland is titled Method and Apparatus for Altering a Region in the Earth's Atmosphere, an Ionosphere, and Magnetosphere. In the patent, which sets the stage for HAARP, Dr. Eastland makes a number of fascinating statements which clearly contradict the claim that it is only being used for research and not for military purposes or such purposes as weather control. Here are a few of key statements taking verbatim from the patent. And I want you guys to really, really listen to what I'm about to say, because this will wake you up. It makes perfect sense. And even people calling from the Bahamas, and I listen to some of the talk shows, people in the Bahamas say this is really unusual, of why a Category 5 hurricane as big as this, as big as Dorian, just still stalling in the islands and continue to stay there. It doesn't make any sense, right? So I'm going to go ahead and read this. The first pattern, it says the temperature of the ionosphere has been raised by hundreds of degrees in these experiments. A means and method is provided to cause interference with or even total disruption of communications over a very large portion of the Earth. This invention can be employed to disrupt not only land-based on communications, but civilian and military, but also airborne communications and sea communications. This would have significant military implications. That's a mind blower. Some of us, and I'm going to stop right there, some of us aren't surprised But it proves that why you have so many Category 4s and Category 5 hurricanes just stalling in some areas. And this is involved by military. So I'm going to continue reading and say, it is possible to take advantage of one or more such beings to carry out a communications network, even though the rest of the world's communication are disruptive. It can be used to an advantage for positive communication and eavesdropping purposes. Exceedingly large amounts of power can be very efficiently produced and transmitted. The invention was a phenomenal variety of potential future developments. Large regions of the atmosphere could be lifted in an unexpected high altitude so that missiles encounter unexpected and unplanned drag forces with resultant destruction or deflection. Weather modification is possible by, for example, altering upper atmosphere wind patterns of altering solar absorptions patterns by constructing one or more plumes of atmosphere particles, which will act as a lens, a focusing device, ozone, nitrogen, etc. Concentrations in the atmosphere could be artificially increased. Electromagnetic pulse defenses are also possible. The Earth's magnetic field could be decreased or disrupted at appropriate attitudes to modify or eliminate the magnetic field. For those with any background in science, you might find it quite revealing to explore this pattern in more detail. And remember that since the time of this pattern, in which Alaska is mentioned several times as the ideal location, the government fully acknowledges that it built a massive array of antennas in Alaska with the capability of disturbing the ionosphere exactly as described in Island's patent. And ladies and gentlemen, and there's a lot of more articles that I wish I can read, but I'm not going to have time to read a lot. But and ladies and gentlemen, this to me proves that HAARP does exist. It proves evidently that there's a U.S. military or government controls the weather, controls the weather patterns, and the thing is, people say it doesn't exist, but it makes perfect sense on why Hurricane Dorian was stalling the islands of the Bahamas for this long, and why it's taken so long to even controlling the weather from not hitting the now this weather, if it was which was usual, they could have hit the West Palm Beach in no time and can really destroy Mar-a-Lago's resort by Donald Trump. It can destroy everything. It was continue to Cat 5. But thanks to HAARP, it basically still stalling the islands of the Bahamas and we're just destroying the entire island. It just continues stalling. And this is why you see when they did that, it didn't even go to Florida like that. It could have been, but it didn't. Instead, it went that northern track to prevent it from even hitting Florida. So, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think about this story. This is a mind blower, but not surprising. Like, click, subscribe, and remember to click the notification bell for all the news and commentary. And with that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.